I'm here with Aaron Gowell, who is the President and CEO of SilverRail Technologies. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, as I was telling you, I'm really happy that your business relationships with some of the railroads are coming to fruition. And
so am I.
and your business is, well, I saw the press release with about ebookers today, and that
Right.
it's moving along, so I can not have to go to 10 Xeon rail sites to book my European or wherever type of rail. How's it going?
The partnership with ebookers is really interesting to us because it'll be the first time that an online travel agency has put rail up in a really meaningful way, integrated into the air search, integrated into the hotel booking path. So it will be a mainstream product, and that's something that almost none of the online travel agencies have ever tried before. A few people have done one-off connections in a particular country, but have never really integrated the rail. So this will be the first time it's truly integrated, and when it goes live, ebookers will then sell it throughout its entire network of distribution sites. And I think there are roughly 12 sites that they run, including their UK site, their French site, their German site, and all of our rail will be presented in all of those places.
And all of your rail consists of which countries now?
Right now we've got roughly half a dozen countries connected. We've got the US, UK, Canada, German system, the Belgian system, which gets you into Thales and Eurostar, which are two important lines in Europe. We're just starting with Spain. We've had great conversations with the French, India, Japan, and we'll probably be what I call doing pick and shovel work for the next 3 or 4 years, connecting up all these rail lines.
Curious, you've had initial conversations with China?
Very cursory conversations. China's going to be a tough nut to crack. You have to have a partnership. And,
of course.
As we've seen, some OTAs are actually even pulling out of that market because it's so hard to compete there.
As you mentioned earlier, the challenge is not technology. It's these partnerships with the railroad.
Right.
And hopefully they have the proper kind of data access.
Right. There's sort of two macro level challenges in doing rail. One is building the relationships with the supplier, actually getting all of them to work together in a single system. So that's one piece of work, which is highly political, takes a long time, you have to build the relationships, and railroads have always been national assets. They're not for-profit companies like airlines, so they never intended to work together the way that American and Delta obviously said maybe it makes sense to actually have code shares and agree on a set of standards and rules. So part of the angle is getting the suppliers to come on board. The second thing, and this is actually what makes the business quite special, is that we've created the very first set of rail standards in the world. So for instance, if you have two rail lines coming into a station, say in Paris, they'll each have different codes for what they call that station. If you ever want to get interoperability and actually connect two rail lines together, you have to agree upon what that station is going to be called. So what we've done is we've actually created a set of codes for the entire world that will work together. So once we plug in all these rail lines, it actually acts like one search and book system.
Did you use the airline city codes pretty much?
In cases where there is an IATA code, we use an IATA code, but in very few cases there's really an IATA code for many of the stations.
Oh, there is not? There
is not. So, the Canadian Railway does 109.
Montpellier, Paris rail station would not have an IATA code.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
If I'm a travel agent, what are my options right now for booking rail, and to what degree might SilverRail be playing into?
It's pretty tough. A good example would be somebody using Get There as an example. And this is the way it works with many corporate tools, whether they're GDS tools or American Express or a company like Get There. Everybody has access to rail in some way, shape, or form. They're usually a separate punch-out booking tool that's different from the main point-of-sale system. So rail is never integrated into the point-of-sale system. So, Amadeus, for instance, has rail around the world, and they probably have 8 or 10 connections, but they're for use in that country only, and it's really nothing more than a wrapper around the supplier's website. All the processes work the way the supplier does. It's exactly the same booking system. So this...
Will you provide a travel agent
yes.
tool?
So, for instance, with GetThere's integrating our rail into their system. It'll be fully integrated into the tool, and then any agent that is using a GetThere tool will have access to that. Same thing with Reardon Commerce, Orbitz for Business, Agencia. All of them are integrating our rail.
And how does a company like Rail Europe, that's been around for decades, how does your technology affect somebody like that?
They're quite different animals. Rail Europe is really a retailer, and that is owned by the French government. It's part of SNCF. It's a subsidiary. And so because it's owned by the French, it really only has the content that is inside the French RESORail system. That's primarily the content that they have. I don't know what the technology is, but they're essentially pulling it all from one data source.
Aaron Gowell, who is President and CEO of SilverRail Technologies, a pleasure. We'll look forward to catch up on developments next year.
Happy Rails.
Cheers.